We appreciate everybody coming out tonight. If you weren't able to make the meeting last week, give you just a quick rundown of how the meeting will work. Pretty much the same as last week. Each of the companies is going to give a presentation. Following that, town council, the town attorney and myself will have some questions, and then we'll move into the portion of the meeting where citizens can ask questions. And again, that is the purpose of this meeting is to ask questions and get information. We plan to have citizen input meetings a little further down the road where you can comment to council on your thoughts on this scenario. If you would, anyone who has a question but doesn't want to come up, there are cards on the tables. Sam has some of those. If you want a card, raise your hand, and he'll bring you one. When you complete it, get his attention again, and then he'll bring those to me. Last week, we had the advantage of having someone who actually knows how to moderate these things. You're stuck with me this week, but we'll see what we can do to try to get as many questions answered as possible. And we are keeping those, and we'll review those, and if there are any we don't get to, we'll make sure they get in the mix at the next meeting if possible. So we'll get started. Last week, Tennessee American started us off, so this week Walden Ridge Utility is going to do so. If we could, if we'll start with Mr. Groves and just introduce yourselves, and then you guys take it from there.
My name is Frank Groves. I'm the one of the board members of the Walden Ridge Utility District.
I'm Ron West. I'm the general manager for Walden Ridge Utility District.
Casey Lawson, assistant general manager, Walden Ridge Utility.
David Fulton, on the commissioner of Utility District.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Kraczynski with Tennessee American Water. I'm the director of operations.
Hello, I'm Valerie Armstrong, president with Tennessee American Water.
I'm Kurt Stafford. I'm with Tennessee American Water. I'm the engineering manager.
Good. I'm Daniel Peterson. I am representing Walden Ridge Utility District tonight, a CPA serving utility districts for over 18 years and assisting them in smart common sense counsel. Walden Ridge Utility District was formed in 1947. It is a public utility operated with transparency. All of the meetings are open to the public. We invite you to come. We want you to be a part of the process. It is a public process. Those meetings are open for disclosure as well. If there are open records requests, Walden Ridge Utility District is required to comply. Walden Ridge is located locally, just up the road at 3900 Taft Highway. Staffed with three customer service professionals, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. Those customer service specialists are here. If you don't mind, let me give you a chance to recognize you, because you are the ones that interact with your customers right here on Taft Highway. Tina, raise your hand. Melissa, Courtney, and Brenda. Is Brenda here tonight? Nope. All right. Those are the folks you're going to talk to live and local as a part of your questions, paying your bills, you have problems, those are your first point of contacts. Our staff is also available 24/7 to respond to emergencies. Those staff, after-hour responders, guys, if you don't mind, stand up. I'd like to recognize you as well. Travis, Kevin, Cody, Johnny, and Jeff. You have multiple ways that you can pay your bills at Walden Ridge Utility District, whether you want to come into the office, pay on the web, drive through, and make your payment through the Dropbox, call in your credit card, log in online and pay by credit card, put your check in the mail, sign up for bank draft. You also have the option for e-billing. That means you can sign up and receive your bills electronically. You also have the option of signing up for online access to your account. Our employees are local. You met one of our commissioners last week. The other commissioners are here tonight. Sorry, David was here before as well. Our manager, Ron West, and our other office employees and staff are trained. Our employees are local, and they're invested and interested in making sure that their community thrives. They want their community to be a success. They support their community through their local involvement in their schools and activities, churches, fundraisers. There's a history of mutual support between Walden's Ridge Utility District and the town of Signal Mountain, where Walden's Ridge employees have assisted the town of Signal Mountain and vice versa. There's 71 years of experience in serving Walden's Ridge Utility District customers here on the mountain. The staff that exists have 120 years of combined service. There are 2 licensed water operators and 3 licensed distribution operators. They are governed by a local board of commissioners. Those board of commissioners are ratepayers. The board of commissioners that we have currently represent over 66 years of utility experience. Those commissioners are appointed by your county mayor. If Signal Mountain were to choose Walden's Ridge Utility District, the proposal is to move to a 5-person board with Signal Mountain having a board member and a voice on the board and a vote at that table. We also serve across the county line in Sequatchie County, and Lone Oak would take on a commissioner seat as well. The decisions about your rates are made locally by those commissioners who are charged at the state level with a fiduciary responsibility to make the best decisions possible for the ratepayers. They are not allowed to spend any money that is not specifically for the utility district. They have a fiduciary responsibility to represent the ratepayers. That's who they answer to. Those meetings that they have are local, and they're focused on the customers, the ratepayers, both current and future. The experience they have represents a significant amount of thought process to not only today, but tomorrow. The planning and foresight that they've demonstrated through their leadership and their actions show that they are thinking ahead. They have planned the size of the mains coming down the line, coming down the road, to not only provide for today's demands, to provide for tomorrow's growth. They already have automated meter reads in place. They have their system mapped in a GIS program. They have a hydraulic study as well that maps the hydraulic information of their system so they can plan the appropriate line size, pump size for the future growth and development of the district. Their water is sourced from Hickson Utility District, which is a groundwater source. It's an aquifer that feeds the utility district. The water is filtered by the ground first into the aquifer and then is pumped through Hickson Utility District to Walden's Ridge Utility District. A ground source of water basically means there are less chemicals that are used in the treatment process. Walden's Ridge Utility District has a bacteriological lab on site where they've been testing for 12 years. They have tested the town of Signal Mountain's water for that 12-year period. They've also tested water for other local utilities, including Lone Oak and Soddy Daisy before they merged with Northwest Utility District. Walden's Ridge Utility District has made smart financial decisions. They have a strong balance sheet, a AA minus bond rating. They also have a backup source of water. If something were to go wrong with Hickson Utility District's water or pump station, they have the ability to buy water in an emergency situation with a written agreement already in place. The data that they have on file is secure. The access to those records is limited to those folks who have the key to the office. Those are locked down, not open to the public, unless there's an information request in which they're required to disclose that information. The physical access is limited. The software is limited. Access to the computers has passwords. Access to the software is password protected. They take their daily backup from the server to an offsite storage. Our employees are non-union. The employees are offered competitive wages with benefits. They have a pension through the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System. Signal Mountain employees that are hired on to Walden's Ridge Utility District will not lose their years of service from their Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System to Walden's Ridge Retirement System. We offer vacation, paid time off. The district pays 100% of the health, vision, and dental insurance of our employees. There's $50,000 of life insurance provided to the employees, and $2,000 dependent life insurance is also offered. Short-term disability is paid for by the utility, and there are other supplemental benefits that are offered to our employees: cancer, wellness, heart and stroke, accidental, and other supplemental policies at the employee's discretion. To summarize, Walden's Ridge is a public utility that's accountable to its customers, that offers a local service center with local folks that answer your questions. The board meetings are open to the public, and you're welcome to be involved in that process. If you have information that you need, you can provide an open records request. Walden's Ridge is required to comply. Walden's Ridge is a governmental entity. It does not pay income taxes. There will be a public meeting before any potential rate increases. It's important that you be involved in the process. All those meetings are notified or publicized in advance. Their source of water is a groundwater source. Their employees participate in the state pension. They also offer two other unique benefits. One is leak insurance. That leak insurance basically covers a leak. When you get a water bill that's $500 and you realize that your toilet valve has been open for a week while you're on vacation, your leak insurance can cover that. They also have an optional line loss insurance that they provide as well. That line basically breaks. The line loss insurance is designed to pay for the replacement of that line. Walden's Ridge Utility District has offered Signal Mountain its top dollar. We crunched the numbers. We ran a lot of analysis on this. $3.6 million, in addition to the $200,000 that Signal Mountain requested to be reimbursed for the RFP costs. Walden's Ridge anticipates a $2.6 billion investment over the next 5 years in Signal Mountains and Walden's Ridge, tying those systems together, bringing AMR meters in, and making sure the tanks are sufficient for the storage capacity and need for Signal Mountain. Walden's Ridge has also agreed to freeze the rates for our Signal Mountain customers for a 5-year period. I'm Daniel Peterson. This is Walden's Ridge Utility District.
Good evening, everyone. While Kurt is setting up his laptop, I'll go ahead and do a quick introduction. Kurt's going to actually give our presentation this evening. I first of all would like to say thank you to all of the town council members for the opportunity for Tennessee American Water to be a part of the RFP process. We're pretty excited about the fact of potentially owning the system up here, a system that we've provided water to for the last 93 years. I also want to take time to introduce our employees as well as our supporters for Tennessee American Water. If you wouldn't mind, would you please stand up just quickly? I'd like to recognize you, and I'd also like to thank all of you for being in attendance this evening. Thank you. All of our employees, all of our supporters, anyone that Tennessee American Water works with, we're all local. We live, we work within our communities. We volunteer within our communities. Our families are a part of our communities. And so Tennessee American Water is proud to be local to Signal Mountain for the last 93 years and for Chattanooga and surrounding areas for the last 130 years. We own and operate the water system in Chattanooga, Tennessee, as well as in Suck Creek and also in Whitwell, Tennessee. And we're very proud of the water quality. We're very proud of the resource that we provide to all of our customers that sustain life. And most importantly, I am more proud and just extremely proud of the over 100 employees that we have that bring over 1,000 years of water professional experience. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Kurt, and he's going to provide our presentation for this evening.
Oh. All right, thanks, Val. Again, my name's Kurt Stafford, and I'm the engineering manager at Tennessee American Water. Kind of like I did last time, I'd first like to start out by thanking the town council. I know there's a lot of information from the two proposals to weed through, and I appreciate you guys setting these meetings up as a way to share the information. And I know you guys have a lot of information to digest, so we appreciate you guys setting these meetings up. Before we go into the proposal, I want to outline our slogan. It's Signal Mountain, Local 493. I know Val touched on it, but we'll touch on it quite a few times during the presentation. So who is Tennessee American Water? So Tennessee American Water has been the provider of water to Signal Mountain for 93 years, since 1925, when a drought actually caused the wells to run dry in Signal Mountain. So beyond that, we've actually also been the local water provider to the Chattanooga area since 1887, over 130 years. In addition to our larger system in Chattanooga, we also have another system in Suck Creek where we serve about 250 customers. And we also serve about 2,800 customers in the town of Whitwell in the Sequatchie Valley. We have about 100 employees who serve about 390,000 residents in and around the Chattanooga area. So one of our core goals for Signal Mountain is to continue to, we have a strong commitment to continue delivering essential quality water. Some of the things that we bring to the table, for the past 130 years, we've never ever had one single water quality violation, and that's something that we really take seriously, and we work really hard to make sure that never happens. We also perform 21 times better than the industry average when it comes to meeting EPA water quality standards, and that's a big deal. For the past 18 years, we've received the EPA's Director's Award for Water Quality. That's something that only 9 other utilities in Tennessee have received. It's something that's given for going above and beyond the water quality regulations to look at our treatment process and make sure we're constantly doing things that could potentially improve our process. So it's kind of to piggyback on what Val said, you know, our offer brings a lot of unique benefits to Signal Mountain. As the owner and operator of the Signal Mountain water system, we'll become a taxpayer. We've estimated that in the first 10 years, the benefit of that's going to be up to $1 million over that first 10 years. And that's something, that's additional inflow into the town that the town council can use as needed. So at Tennessee American, we pride ourselves on providing outstanding customer service, and that's something we want to bring to the residents of Signal Mountain. We believe that our 93-year partnership will allow for a seamless transition from working with the town to working with the residents. Tennessee American is also available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Customers are really at the center of everything that we do. In fact, our employees that we recognized earlier live and work in the communities that we serve. Just for instance, in 2017, our employees volunteered over 1,400 hours of community service. That includes things like myself and Daphne Kirksey, who's our external affairs manager. We're both members of the Signal Mountains Lions Club. And we've actually used some of our American Water employees to do site screening and things like that, some charity stuff for the Lions Club. And we also do firefighter grants. So every year we give out about 5 to 7 firefighter grants so different departments can go out and buy and refurbish their fire department equipment. One other thing about that too, we also consistently score over 90% on our annual satisfaction rankings. That's something we're really proud of. So we really want to develop a strategic approach to upgrade the Signal Mountain water system. We want to use things that we've already been using in our Chattanooga service area, things that have worked in the past. This includes creating a master plan for the system. We want to work with the Signal Mountain employees since they have a lot of the institutional knowledge and they've really been doing this stuff and living it for the past 40 years or so. We want to work with those guys and kind of pick their brains and build a master plan. We also want to create an asset management program that'll help guide the improvements. One of the things that's kind of unique to American Water is or Tennessee American Water is we're able to leverage national contracts for materials, so we can actually do more capital work and get more bang for the buck. We can stretch capital dollars, which is a big thing for us. And another thing we'd like to do, since we've got a long history with Signal Mountain, we'd like to propose a water advisory board, the creation of a water advisory board. And what this would do is let Signal Mountain residents and leaders, as chosen by the town council, would be able to create this water advisory board, and they'd be able to add guidance and input on projects and initiatives. And this is something that we've used successfully in several other communities. So, we've talked about Signal Mountain, but, let's take a step back and talk about some of the things that, came up in the RFP and some of the things that are facing, water providers across the United States. So one of the biggest issues facing water providers currently is the replacement of aging infrastructure. These lines have been buried for a long time, and they're starting to leak and fail. In fact, the American Society of Civil Engineers actually gave water infrastructure across the United States a D rating in 2017. And really the reason for this is that a lot of the pipes and infrastructure that we're using currently were installed in the early to mid 1900s with an expected lifespan of about 75 to 100 years. So a lack of replacement and a lack of maintenance on these systems is causing them to fail and leak. In fact, there's about 6 billion gallons a day across the United States that gets lost through water leaks. That's enough to serve about 15 million households. So that's a big deal. This is a summary of our 3 purchase proposal options, and they vary really depending on the amount of land that the town council ultimately decides to sell. So one of the big things for us, and I mentioned it earlier, is providing job opportunities for the employees. The employees have the institutional knowledge. They're the ones that have been working on this system. So we want to offer them all employment. That's something that we did in Suck Creek that I mentioned earlier. That's also something we did in the town of Whitwell just recently too. We also, I talked earlier about being a taxpayer in the town, and we're estimating that the benefit of the tax benefit would be about $1 million over the first 10 years. We also plan to invest about $3 million in capital investments over that same time period. So our initial $3.4 million offer frees up about $3.8 million in water funds, and that can be used for other town needs, but as just really allocated by the town council. So that brings a total 10-year value of our proposal of over $11.2 million that can be used to further town needs. We think that's a big deal. One of the things that came up in our last meeting that we wanted to expand a little bit on is employee benefits. So Tennessee American Water has exceptional employee benefits. We use Blue Cross Blue Shield as our provider. We do an 80-20 split, so the company pays 80%, the employee pays 20%. We have medical, dental, vision, disability. We also have a health and wellness program where employees can participate and actually earn up to $300 a year for doing things that are beneficial. We have 0 copay on preventative care, and then we also have a tuition assistance program. We have $10,000 per year for a tuition assistance program. We have an exceptional 401k account, which the company does a lot of matching. So just for instance, if an employee were to contribute 5% to their 401k, they would actually get almost 15% of their pay into the 401k. So that's something we're really proud of. One of the big things that Signal Mountain is interested in, it was brought out through the RFP process, is maintaining rates for 5 years and also maintaining comparable rates to peer cities and towns. So Tennessee American is prepared to hold base rates flat for a period of 5 years, subject to approval from the Tennessee Public Utility Commission. We also compared some Signal's rates to some other local rates around the area, and one of the things that was asked by the mayor last time we met was how much does it actually cost, how much does a gallon of water cost? And so we did some calculations, and we figured it's 0.6 of a cent is what a gallon of water costs in our Chattanooga service area. You know, the interesting thing for us, and we've talked a little bit about it before, but the Tennessee Public Utility Commission actually sets our rates, and it's a public process. People can participate in that, and it's actually based on the true cost of service. So your rates are based off the cost of getting water out to the customers. So basically, to summarize, we have a lot of long-term benefits. We believe we'll bring a lot of long-term benefits to the community. We have the track record, the expertise, and the ability to be a solution for Signal Mountain's needs. I'd also like to reiterate our 4 core goals for Signal Mountain. 1, provide outstanding customer service. 2, continue to deliver essential quality water. 3, personally invest in the community as a taxpayer. And 4, develop a strategic approach to replacing the Signal Mountain water system. So finally, I'd like to wrap up with our slogan, let's stay local with Tennessee American Water, your partner for 93 years. Thanks.
Thank you, folks. I'll start with one question I kind of wanted to circle back to from last meeting, and you touched on it again today when you were talking about expanding the board for Walden Ridge Utility District. And I want to make sure I understood from the last meeting that currently you're considered a single county utility as opposed to a multi-county utility. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Though you do operate in multiple counties, but currently that's the case, that you're a single county utility. Correct.
We can serve outside our service area, and that's what we currently do.
Okay. In looking at the law relative to commissioners' numbers, terms, and vacancies and so forth, it states that each utility district shall have 3 commissioners, except those multi-county utility districts and utility districts having a greater number of commissioners on May 6, 2004. So it sounds like there would have to be a process you would go through to be able to expand the board. Do you know exactly what that would entail?
According to Don Scholes with TAUD, we just have to petition the UMRB to expand our board. It's a very easy process, which we would expand our service area and redraw our maps. That's one of the reasons Lone Oak Utility, which we have talked about merging with, one of the reasons we haven't merged yet is once I open and redo our service area, which include part of Sequatchie County, and we go to a 5-member board, and that's why I was waiting on the position of the town to see if we were going to bring Signal Mountain into that area or not.
Okay. So you would basically have to become a multi-county utility and be recognized as such to expand the board?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Dan?
I'm going to step up here so it's easier. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
So all of these questions are for both sides, and this is these occurred after the last meeting. Are there any reasonable circumstances under which, and either side can answer first, any reasonable circumstances under which you would go up on water rates during the 5-year freeze?
Not for us, it would not be. We do, TUPAC does not set, or TUPUC, Tennessee Public Utility, does not set ours. These commissioners is the one that would set ours, and as we add a Signal Mountain person to our board, we go to a stringent rate increase, and I think we could guarantee that we would not go up on the rates for the first 5 years.
If you encountered something during the infrastructure repair that was, prohibitively expensive, you can't operate at a loss, I'm assuming.
Well, I might say that we've gotten a guarantee from our supplier, which is Hickson, that they will not increase our rates for the same 5-year period. And one thing, our supplier Hickson has not had a rate increase for their customer base for 20-something years. So but they've guaranteed us that they wouldn't have a rate increase, and so we guarantee that we are not going to give any rate increase for that 5 years.
Is it on? Yeah. I mean, let's say, maybe your question is directed to if we had a catastrophic failure of 2 pumps.
I'm more thinking about infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 pumps on Mountain Creek Road that we purchased from Tennessee American that are not that old, but let's say they fail, and it's like $300,000. We're strong enough on our balance sheet that we can borrow those funds and amortize that debt over 10 years. We have access to municipal bond monies that are very low interest rate that private companies cannot access. So even in that scenario, I don't think we would be looking at a rate increase.
Okay. So Tennessee American, same question.
As we spoke about, our rates are determined by TPUC, which is the Tennessee Public Utilities Commission, and we currently have no plans to go in for a rate case and ask for rates to be increased over the next 5 years. Really, the only unforeseen circumstance that I could potentially think of is if TPUC says we are going to call you in for a rate increase. And I can say that has never happened to us. We do a really good job ensuring that our capital plan is shared with TPUC on an annual basis. And we have a pretty extensive capital planning process of which, if there were extenuating circumstances from an infrastructure standpoint, that we're able to take care of. And I'll actually let Kurt speak to that because he manages our capital plan.
Yeah, so the last meeting we mentioned kind of what our capital plan would include for Signal Mountain, and we had mentioned, we would upgrade the meters to AMR meters, and we would also improve some of the SCADA connections within the town. But we're also talking about creating a sustainable infrastructure program, and that includes replacing 1% of the system per year, going through and doing a valve and hydrant assessment and fixing, valves and hydrants that are broken. And so, we're looking to create a sustainable program. That's stuff that we've already done in Chattanooga, and that's stuff that we're looking to do here. But we were looking at, we're creating 10-year plans. So we already have a 10-year plan created for Signal Mountain of what we would plan to do.
All right, so the next question is a follow-up to that one then. What happens in the 6th year?
I'm glad you asked that question. I'm glad you asked that question. With a member of Signal Mountain on the board, I think we always do a rate study before we do any kind of increase to our customers. These guys have been phenomenal about not going up on rates. That's one of the issues we had when we were Tennessee American. We had one of the increase of cost on our water, we had to pass along to our customers. And so, since we've got a stable source, we've not had to go up on the rates of our customer, and we don't plan to. And that's what I like about the commissioners that we have. We don't have stockholders. We don't have to make a percentage of profit. We do have to make $1 every year. But I think that speaks well for utility districts throughout America, that without stockholders, without answering to corporate America, all the money stays 100% here on Signal Mountain, and without a rate study, without justification, we will not be going up on rates. Right. So year 6, I don't know. It depends on the rate study.
Did you factor year 6 into your proposal?
We did, but it also depends on the condition of the system itself. you know, if the system's in good shape, we also talked about, just like Tennessee American, putting automatic read meters in and go to a monthly billing. I think they're doing the same thing. Hydraulic studies, GPSing. The information the employees will provide will be outstanding. The information that we need, the data that we cannot get, I mean, the stuff that's been buried here for, I think actually the town of Signal Mountain purchased the system in 1947. And, you know, what's here, if it's mapped correctly, we need that information. So once we have the information and then we can make reasonable assessments to it, then we can start assessing what the town actually needs.
Okay. Tennessee American? 60 years, that's what the question is.
Yeah, so again, our goal is not to increase rates, and we have looked out beyond from a 5-year period, and what we've primarily look at is the capital spend within the system. And we spoke about this last week, and that's our capital riders. Our capital riders allow us to spend approximately $20 million within our capital plan within our entire system. So our goal is to continue to manage to that plan, and kind of as Kurt spoke to, ensure that we have a preventative maintenance program in place as well, so that we are getting ahead of any unforeseen issues that could potentially occur within the system.
So as I ask, I've got a list, and I'll get through these quickly. I want you to know that in my mind, as someone who will vote on how this happens, you're not competing with each other on these questions. You're competing with whether or not we should be doing this ourselves. So just know that that's where I'm coming from. So if it seems like I'm picking on one side more than the other, I have to be convinced that we can't do this better ourselves as well. And I'm not of that either. So the next one is, do you have any research or assumptions as to the impact of raising rates gradually versus substantially in one event? And I'd like for you to answer in terms of impact to the customer. If you recognize that there is something, you guys have to pay, you know, I assume that the 11.2 million in taxes, customers will pay for that. That gets factored into the cost of water. So in a sense, that's us paying for that. And the thing that worries me about your side is if you buy us, it really only doubles your size. And it's pretty close to just doubling your size. So it's not like you have a tremendous amount of capital that you have gained. You might have just gained a tremendous liability. So I'm assuming that there will need to be rate increases, and they might be significant at some point. And so anyway, answer that. Is it any research on that as to whether it's better to hit people all at once or gradually pay for it?
My thinking, and this is just me, and I think the utility will back me on this, it really depends. You have a voice with us, you know, and that's what we're offering. When we were with Tennessee American, one of the agreements in the contract was we were to negotiate prior to. We paid for 100% for our infrastructure. The rate increases we got, we never were able to discuss. We never had a voice in. We just had to pay the price. But with, you know, if there's a need in the town, and I think if it's a reasonable need and there's a large cost or issue or problems, then we can bring that to the public. And I think, and they can answer for the capital riders currently charging 18%, 17, 18% per customer. We don't have that and don't intend to have that. And that, it lessens the impact, yes, of a rate increase, rate studies, but
where does the money come from? For major infrastructure improvements?
Well, the rates the customers pay.
No, that's fine. We've done extensive analysis of the purchase and the purchase price, the impact on the depreciation, the impact on the financial statements as it relates to the interest expense related to any debt that we might take on. In that analysis, there are synergies that are brought to the table with Signal Mountain customers where we think there's going to be additional value that's going to come to fruition over time, but we can't see it right now, we can't predict it right now. Right now, you don't have automated meter reads. You're reading every quarter. When those meters are in the ground and they've got more than 1 million gallons of usage on those meters, they're going to read slow. That's a utility's cash register. When those automated meter reads go in the ground, I believe we're going to see some additional revenue that you're not experiencing right now as the town of Signal Mountain. That revenue and the rates that we've set for Walden's Ridge customers are designed to have a combined self-funding capital improvement and debt funding capital improvement.
Could I ask you, Daniel, at the next meeting, if you'll expand on that a bit more?
Sure.
Just so I can get through these questions, but I'd like to know more about that.
Absolutely, be glad
to understand it better rather than to go down that road now.
Okay. Yeah, you know, in my presentation, we talked a lot about the capital needs for infrastructure across the country and that folks just haven't kept up with infrastructure replacement and things like that. So our capital rider program, and we talked about it last week, we estimate it's 71 cents per month per customer, and that gives us capital to invest $20 million across our system. You know, the benefit for us is that we can spread costs across a lot more customers. So that 71 cents will get us a lot of investment, and that will go into Signal Mountain. I think, you know, also the kind of the past predicts the future. You know, if you look at our rates, I mean, I showed a comparison of our rates. I mean, our Chattanooga rates are around, I think it was $23, something like that. You know, and Walden's rates are $38 per month. So, you know, that just goes to prove that over, you know, in the past, we've had a successful track record of keeping rates reasonable, and that's what you guys are looking for. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you're looking for reasonable rates, and you talked about wanting to be comparable to other peer cities and systems. So we believe that we bring that to the table.
Okay. Kurt, is the Elder Mountain rates and the Lookout Mountain rates the same as Chattanooga's?
Elder Mountain is the same. Lookout Mountain's on a separate tariff. It's a couple dollars more. We can show that to anybody after the meeting.
Okay.
And I'd like to expand on something you said because I bring a unique perspective. I've worked in several states with different rate structures, and there's two things out there that are known in the rates world. One is called rate shock, and the other is rate fatigue. So rate shock, you could think of a large rate increase. So while the guy said Hickson hadn't maybe increased their rate in a long time, they did increase rates 16% in 2015 for their customers. So Hickson's rates, just like everybody's, do go up over time. And you would call that a rate shock because a customer, especially on a fixed income or a low income, can't absorb that 16%. That's difficult to put in your budget. Whereas we use something called the riders. It's a general increase, 3.5%. And we go up a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on what the capital needs were for that year. So we're talking 71 cents. Much easier for someone to absorb. Like now, when you think about rate fatigue, some people don't have the capacity to absorb anything. And that's a different set of folks, and that's why our rates are structured the way they are based on usage. So a low usage customer will pay a lower bill. At that 4,000, there is a peak in that, and then it starts dropping back off again. So there's a lot of design in our rate structure that we could spend a lot of time getting very technical, but it's designed.
Could I ask that again at a subsequent meeting, we do spend more time on that? Because that is central.
Yeah, and I think we could probably spend time individually, and I think we could both, you know, spend time with you kind of going into details on rate structure. And the other side of it is remember in our riders, we talked last time about PCOP. Not all of our riders go up. So we're all the time looking at balancing costs. So a lot of times people think of infrastructure, it costs money. In an effort to keep rates as low as possible, we've actually dropped our expenses on the O&M side of our budget over year to the point that our production costs have actually gone down. So while EPB has raised rates over time, we've seen lower fuel and power costs almost every year. We've seen lower chemical costs as petroleum costs have gone up, making chemicals more expensive. So we're looking for creative ways because we know the infrastructure's got to happen. So how do you take that fatigue off customers? How do you take that shock out of it? You design your rates in a way that customers can afford them and still invest in your system and take care of it.
Okay. All right, so the next question, how would it have been different if there had been no 5-year cap? If Signal Mountain had not asked for a 5-year cap, how would that have changed the way you went about this proposal?
I'll answer first. I'll say it would not have changed how we would have went about this approach. Our goal is to keep the customers at the center of everything that we do. So we're going to do everything possible to ensure that the amount of rate increases, rate impact for our customers are kept to a minimum. Our goal is to ensure that we are investing prudently in our capital plans, because that has to go before TPUC. TPUC has to approve any of our rate increases, any of our capital surcharges. And so we're going to be very prudent about it. We're going to address the necessary issues that we would have within the system. And relative to Signal Mountain, the due diligence process that we went through and understanding kind of what your capital needs were, our plan is built on that. Our capital plan is going to be based on that. But as we talked about last week, also, if we come into the system and we purchase the system and we determine that there is a need for us to spend more than the $1.25 million, then we're going to do that. And our goal is to continue to keep the impact to the customers at a minimum. And so we focus in on keeping the capital riders around, again, that 71 cents per customer for the impact of rates, and it allows us to be able to manage that $20 million capital plan that we have on a yearly basis.
All right, thank you.
Likewise, we don't anticipate a rate increase for our customers, our present customers, so they wouldn't have changed our offer.
Okay.
We're not going to agree to a rate cap with Signal Mountain coming in and then hit our customers with a rate increase, because you're all our customers. So.
All right. Thank you. And I just have a few more questions. This one's going to be hard to answer quickly, but yeah, Ron, go ahead.
Can I make one comment? Infrastructure costs money. Just like I agree with them, and there is no way that in the future, there's got to be rate increases in the future somewhere. When the cost and the evaluation, nothing is ever free, or I don't think it'll sustain itself. So I understand rate shock, but I also understand too that it costs money to do business. And so, but understand too that 100% of the money will stay here on the mountain.
Very short answer for this one, because it's quick. Where do I find rates on your website? Each company.
They're on our website. They're on our website, are they not? Have you looked at the website?
Yes, I just want to know if you guys know where to find them quickly on the website.
Right now? I don't have them with me right now.
Do you guys, can we find our rates on your website?
Yeah, we can pull them up on the screen if you want.
Okay.
TennesseeAMwater.com, and we can pull them up. And
specifically for Chattanooga and for
Chattanooga, Lookout Mountain.
Lookout Mountain.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. The next one goes back to what we were asking just a moment ago, and there's just a couple more. And I know this list could be legion, but what specific needs have you identified in Signal Mountain's infrastructure that will need to be addressed? And I'd like that answered outside of hookup. I know we've got a hookup with you guys, but I'm talking about outside of that.
Well, I'll go first. During the due diligence meeting, I think that the main thing that the main kind of bang for a buck, kind of, first things we want to do is change out the meters. We all talked about the AMR, changing from manual read over to AMR, where you can automatic reads. That would be a big thing, because that'll make life a lot easier to be able to read them more accurately and get more accurate readings. And also, we're going to update the SCADA system. Down at the pump station down there, we need to get that communicating with our systems back in Chattanooga and stuff like that too. So that's some early win stuff, but like the other thing that we've talked about before is just creating a sustainable infrastructure program. So we've got funds built around creating a sustainable infrastructure program, like I mentioned before, valve replacement, hydrant inspections, valve inspections and things like that, and also replacing at least 1% of the system per year.
They'll sound like O&M kinds of things as opposed to infrastructure replacement, like subdivisions that may need their entire delivery systems replaced?
Well, the way that we look at capital, so we go out and we do some of the O&M type stuff that you talk about. You're going out and you're doing your exercising valves, seeing what's broken, assessing the system. But then when we come back in and replace the stuff, that's capital, the way we look at it. So it's a capital replacement where we're replacing the asset itself.
Okay.
I'd also like to add to that, and we spoke about this last week on relative to the capital plan, is our goal is to ensure that the interconnect with Walden's Ridge is actually put in place. That's something that was called out by TDEC as a part of your sanitary survey, and our goal is to ensure that there's going to be redundancy in the system up here. The goal, again, is to make sure that all of the customers are taken care of.
Right. And I agree with Kurt, the meters is the main, what we both talked about in the beginning. The SCADA system. It's hard to walk into an area, like I told you, it's going to take time for us to exercise, understand GPS, find out where the weak points of the system is. We're still finding them in Walden. Casey's one of our oldest employees at WRUD. William has a vast knowledge of that. So, you know, in his brain's a lot of information that we need. And we have to transfer that into a computer and find those areas and make those adjustments in find the weak points, and then we can make good, smart decisions.
Dan, if I could expand on a couple things, because Kurt brought up something. He talked about AMR meters, and I think Walden's also talked about meters. I wouldn't say we're 100% sold on AMR meters. There's a lot of new technology out there right now. An AMR is an automatic meter read. There's an automatic meter infrastructure, which is a cellular connection. It's kind of the next level of that. It's instantaneous reads. That would be something we would definitely evaluate on the mountain because of the unique structure of the mountain. So we can cover the cost of that project with the same budget as AMR. So I don't want people going away saying, hey, that's a solution, because the reality is we've only looked at the place one time, 30,000 feet. So we got to get in and really learn. So we have some earmarks in there that we know these are important. And you talked about subdivisions. I talked a little bit last time about a satellite survey we were doing of Chattanooga and Whitwell. It identifies exactly what you're talking about with the subdivisions. We do have several $100,000 plugged in the budget for what we call main replacements, valve replacements, hydrant replacements. These are our recurring projects that happen every single year. So there's a large part of our budget, about half of our $20 million goes into that recurring projects that we identify through those studies and boots on the ground. So putting our leak detection folks that know exactly what they're doing with our equipment, working with the people that work on Signal Mountain, they know where the lines are, they know how the system works. You take that, you mesh it up with a satellite study that brings another level of technology to the table, and we can very accurately work on the next 6th year, the 7th year, the 8th year, and work all these together. So I would say we have a framework, but I wouldn't commit to just AMR. There's a lot of new things that are coming that are going to bring a lot of efficiencies to the table, and we're on the edge of doing several of these pilots right now in Chattanooga.
And the beauty of what Kevin is talking about is the ability for us to be able to spread this across our entire customer base. So, and that's one of the values that we bring to the table, is relative to our ability to be able to spread out our costs, because we have such a large customer base.
So, you see, I keep coming. A lot of my questions concern infrastructure, and more so than the meters, but the actual pipes in the ground that we know are going to need to be replaced. So this question's a little complex, and if you need me, if I don't make myself clear, just let me know. But what is the likely impact of a massive road repair to our town budget? That's basically what this is about. This question is about. I'm concerned that we've all seen what happens when someone comes in and works on roads, and then you guys both use the same company to come in, if I understand from the last meeting, to repair the road. But we know what happens after 6 months, is that begins to dip at some point. And so the patch can fade a little bit. I'm concerned that it will impact our town's resurfacing of roads schedule completely. I'm assuming that if you own the system, you guys would proceed with what best fits your plan for, like you're working in a subdivision, you just sort of go that way. If we owned our own system, we might coordinate that with our regular schedule of road resurfacing. Does that make sense? Whereas if you guys work on something, then you change our plans constantly, and it might have a negative impact on the town. So how could that be worked out with both companies?
Currently, we work with Hamilton County and Walden on the roads. I think we sent, well, TDOT also permits Corral Sawyer's a great instance. We sent out there grading the road. We were going to replace the water main out through there, a total of 15 miles. They offset the project for a year. Not only did they get a new water main, but we got a new road that we didn't have to cut or damage, because the last thing we want to do is cut and damage a road that the city, county, anybody paid for. We don't like to put our infrastructure in the road. That's one thing we try to avoid, because we know it's going to be a constant fight. I think you're talking about timber links out there where they put the sewer line down the lane. It's horrible. I've seen that. It's got probably a 6-inch drop or 4-inch drop. They're going to settle, even with flowable fill. It's just somewhere we don't want to be in the road. And I don't think Tennessee American, I can't speak for them, but I don't think they want to be there either.
So I'll talk a little bit about our main replacements and repair work. I'm very familiar with the process, and I think both of us have contracts with the same contractor. I'm not sure if they have a warranty built in, but we do offer a warranty on all our repairs. We also have a person assigned to the town, and I'll talk about Rossville, Georgia. Everything in Chattanooga, Rossville, it's running the road. We have very little lines in the grass or in the right-of-way, so any main break usually impacts a road or a sidewalk. So when we finish these projects, we turn this over to our contractor, but you have a contact on the ground that says, hey, this has settled wrong. This isn't looking right. This doesn't match up. And we're back out there. And I think if you were to reach out to the mayor of Rossville, he would talk a lot about the stuff that Casey Allen's done working with him. When he has an issue, it gets taken care of. We do use flowable fill, and flowable fill will generally prevent a lot of that sagging. A lot of it comes down to backfill and your standards for road repair. But we're very open to working with the community if there's a different technique. I've worked in different areas where stone may be acceptable. I've had cement acceptable as backfill material because they didn't want to have that risk of it sinking. And it comes down to designing your repair correctly. And again, with that 12-month warranty, you're going to start seeing things sag, and it's just a phone call, and it gets pulled out and it gets redone.
Okay, so thank you guys. Last one, and it's a softball, so you guys can answer this however you think it would work for us. But assuming you guys are all in the water business, so you find that that's a sustainable enterprise, right? I mean, you get enough extra money in that you can make repairs and you can keep going and hire people and expand. It's a sustainable enterprise, possibly for us as well. Why should we not, as a town, do this ourselves?
What we bring to the table is 120 years experience. I've worked in the water myself for 32 years. I think that's what we bring to the town. We bring our experience, our knowledge, our construction, our pumpage, pipes. We bring a lot to the table. The town, it's hard to find good water people. I think everybody can attest to that. It's not a cookie box industry that you can walk out here and hire somebody. A grade 4 operator is worth their weight in gold. A distribution operator is worth their weight in gold. These people are hard to find, and good ones are exceptionally hard to find. So it sounds good, and there are a lot of good engineers. It takes a rounded person to really design a system and work in a system and make a great system work. So the town could do it, but bringing it up to speed and technology and, to a higher level is going to take time and money. So it's really how much you want to invest in it.
And I might add something as well. We do very little contracting. If we have a job that needs to be done, our people do it. When we took water to Boston Branch, we came in, we had it, we put it out for contract, and it came in way over. And there's no way we could take on that kind of a debt. And so we were about ready not to do it until we hired Ron to be our general manager. And he trained our people, and we dug the ditch and put the pipe in ourselves and saved a lot of contractor cost. And I think that's one of the things that we would bring to the town, because I think the town contracts out pretty much all the water replacement of lines and such that they do. But I think that's a big thing we would bring to the town.
Thanks, Frank.
Okay. Well, first of all, I would say I would not even begin to venture to guess at how much all of you have on your plates, what you have to manage on a day-to-day basis in your roles, and all of the things that you have to make big decisions on that impact the town of Signal Mountain. What I would say is that you're not going to be washing your hands of the water system. We would be a partner in this. We would be working together relative to what is important for the town of Signal Mountain, what is important for the customers relative to the water system. So what Tennessee American Water is going to bring to the table, it's going to be the expertise to be able to think through strategically what are the capital needs here. We want to also hear from you, which is why we would love to be able to have the advisory council from individuals in the town, because it's about partnering, it's about being in this together. The employees would still be, that our current employees of the town of Signal Mountain would be our employees. So again, we're all going to be working together in this, and so it truly is what you would look at as a private-public partnership, which is what we're seeing a lot across the country today relative to being able to solve needs and solve issues. What we're going to be able to bring to the table is capital. We're going to be able to bring the money to the table, and you all will not have to worry about where am I going to need to get money from a capital standpoint to take care of the needs within our system. And our goal is to be very smart, to be very prudent in how we spend that capital, and to ensure that we're not passing excess costs along to our customers. So, I don't know, Kurt, would you like to add anything from a capital standpoint?
You know, Val, kind of to piggyback on Val said, you know, access to capital is one of our big things. Like I mentioned in the presentation, we can leverage national contracts to stretch capital dollars. And that's what we, you know, we talk about working all across the system. We really have the access to capital. We have the contract crews. We have master agreements with contractors that help us stretch those dollars, and we can get much more done for less.
Thank you, guys.
I'm Phil, the town attorney here. The charter for the town clearly authorizes us to do all things that are necessary to provide for regulation, construction, maintenance of waterworks, anything within the town here, and to actually provide for rates for those water services. Currently, the town has quite a bit of infrastructure in the ground. We also have tanks that have been purchased over the last since 1947, if that's since we've been running the system here. And I was wondering about, because of that, at least TPUC gives us a special rate at this point for bulk sales. And I was trying to figure out what the difference would be for the audience here as to a bulk rate versus a current water rate for ratepayers of the system. And I asked that of Tennessee American first, and then I'll go over and ask the other folks.
So I think you've asked a couple questions. I may not quite understood it, but the rate that we sell water to the town is a wholesale rate. It's $1.31 per 1,000 gallons.
Yes, sir.
Now, the town turns around and sells that water for your tariff rates, which comes close to about $5 per 1,000 if you were to average it all out. Ours, we're going to match that exact tariff rate.
Okay, but that's what you would be matching for all of your general customers within your system, correct?
In Signal Mountain, Signal Mountain's rate would match exactly what it does today. Okay. So your rates up here would be slightly less than a customer in Chattanooga for the first 5 years, for the first year, and then with the riders after that, yes. Okay,
and that's because of the investment that the town has made in the infrastructure over the last 53 years or whatever since 1947, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Also asking at least WRUD in connection with your rates on here, y'all get your water from Hickson Utility District, correct?
Correct.
And I was trying to make sure I understood in here how many ratepayers there would be getting water from your source, the Cave Springs source, if it included the Hickson and Walden and Signal Mountain and Lone Oak folks, I don't know what other folks are involved. How large of a rate base would you have?
Currently 3,600, 3,650 and 3,747. We also serve Suck Creek, their water also.
Yes, sir.
And Lone Oak Utility. I think Hickson currently serving 28,000 out of the aquifer, but we've got a contract with them for 5 million gallons a day, and I don't think Signal Mountain's ever used 2 million a day, so even in drought situations. And I think we've right around 2 million a day, so I think we've got plenty of water. And they've actually put in another well, and they do have Walker's Corner, so they do have a backup source.
I'm only a history major before I became a lawyer, and it makes me a little concerned insofar as a underground water source. If the town initially in, I guess, 1947, at that point in time, had to get out of the water business because their wells dried up. I'm just trying to make sure the ratepayers that you have and the source that you have involved, is it sufficient to be able to handle all those ratepayers?
USGS is a United States Geological Society. They have done studies on the well. They have been monitoring those for years,
yes,
and they assure us those wells will provide plenty of water for us and Signal Mountain in the future. I think Hannah Rogers, that was the town manager, sat in a lot of meetings with us and talked with Hickson, and they assured us 100% there was no issues.
Does Hickson Utility District have a bulk water rate?
Yes.
And do you know how that compares to the rate that we would be paying as a ratepayer for Walden's Ridge?
I do not. Okay. Because they have a declining rate the more you buy, so it's really going to make the water, the more we purchase, the better it is. So, but as he said, EPB, the pumping, we pump the water up the mountain, and so it is a pumping cost to it. So there is cost.
Yes, sir.
Phil, I'd like to expand on something because I think it's important for us all to know. We've sold water to Signal Mountain for 93 years, and we have had days, especially in 2016, that we were selling well over 2.5 million gallons. And I think TDEC shows everyone's max days, and everyone was over 2 million. So it's important to understand there's normal demand and then there's extremes. And in 2016, all of our systems were tested a lot. And we saw it in Suck Creek on a well system. I can't speak for Hickson. I know they felt it because they reached out to us. Walden's reached out. We saw it in Sequatchie Valley. The Tennessee River wasn't impacted. And we were very happy that we were able to supply Chattanooga customers. I didn't have to give Boyd or William a call or anyone else up on the mountain because the Tennessee River was in great shape. So it's really important to understand the difference between normal days and those tough days when things go wrong. And again, for 93 years, we've had that relationship where when we needed more water, we were able to route it around. And I think that's something that the town really needs to consider. Pay a lot of attention to the contracts, pay a lot of attention to the TDEC data that's out there. We learn something every time we pull up these files and we're trying to manage our system and looking out 10 years. There are things out there that change your capital plan. And when you see a demand of 2.7 million gallons in a day coming up the mountain, and you're looking at 2 or so going up the other side of the mountain, 5 million gallons goes real quick. Normal day, 2 million is plenty for everybody. But how do you get through August? How do you get through September when you're having those times?
But your costs go up because you're having to clean up your water in that time for increased usage, does it not?
Our costs actually go down. The more water we treat, we gain economies of scale. The first gallon you pump up the mountain gets a little expensive because you have to set demand. Once demand's set, it's about 40% of your electric bill. Your costs go down significantly the more you pump. So when we're pumping 50 million gallons, the incremental cost per gallon actually goes down, which was able to help us provide water to those customers.
Okay, sir.
And Phil, one thing too, let me add, we added more storage a couple of years ago. We added a 2 million concrete tank out in Sequatchie County. So we do know in tough times we have to have more storage because in tough days when you're pumping 2 million gallons or selling 2 million gallons of water, you have to have more storage or the ability to pump more water here. So we did add more storage.
And that's in addition to your water tank above ground that has a Signal Mountain Eagle on it, right?
That is correct.
Okay, I wondered. Okay. One other little aspect I was wondering about, currently there has been at least a resolution, at least since the mid-90s, as to a portion of the town that is provided, water services provided by WRUD, as I understood it here. What would any acquisition here by WRUD have on the settlement agreement for those individuals that are already getting their water source from WRUD north of, I guess it's Shackelford Ridge Road?
I see no change. I think Fox Run and Windtree customers were ours prior to and have been since day one. I don't see any reason to change.
Okay, sir. And their rates would be the same as the rates of other individuals in the town?
No, they'll be at Walden's Ridge utility rates.
Yes, sir, but if Walden's Ridge actually acquired the rest of the town, would they all be the same rates?
That's a tough question.
That's what I'm asking it.
We'll have to, we hadn't considered that, so we'll have to give you an answer at the next meeting.
Yes, sir, it's a concern for the town because we don't want to have our citizens that are residents of the town paying two different rates. Okay. Likewise, Tennessee American, and maybe y'all didn't know that there is a portion of the town that currently, by a settlement agreement from the 90s, is actually under WRUD. How would y'all handle that rate base?
It is my understanding those customers aren't part of the acquisition. They would maintain customers of Walden's Ridge, and they would pay their rates that Walden has as their tariff. Only the customers that we would be gaining through the acquisition would have the rates that we adopt. So we have the same situation in Chattanooga. Hickson has some customers on one side of the street. We have customers across. They have two different bills because they're served by two different utilities. Yes, sir. And I guess that would be a concern to us, at least with the town, as to our people within the town having two different rate bases. So your proposal here was only for that portion that is the town base and our water system customers, correct? That is correct. Okay. Thank you.
I think, Phil, if I recall, the town could not serve, I think, those areas on Shackelford Ridge because of the topography, as I recall. I might be mistaken on that. So, I mean, I don't know how that changes whether you go with Tennessee American or you go with us. Perhaps we could level the rate with the regular rest of the town easier than Tennessee American, but I think they're right. I don't think they could serve those customers with the present system. That's just my recollection of that situation you described.
Yes, sir, that's before my time, but Carlos Smith, I think, was involved for the town on that, and I'll have to talk with him about it a little bit. Thank you.
I just want to thank Dan for asking all my questions. I had a question about fire service. Do you charge for water service for RUD to fire services to use it for training and or fight fires? And also the same question to American Water.
We do have a rate.
Hit the switch.
We do have a rate for training purposes, but for just fighting fires, no. For emergency situations, no. But for training, like I said, we deal with 3 different volunteer fire departments, and so we do have a bulk rate if they report it. I actually bought fire hydrant meters for the guys because we have water loss is very important to us. And so I bought fire hydrant meters and give one to the town of Signal Mountain, give one to Walden's Ridge Walden's Ridge Fire Department, Lone Oak, and Dallas Bay, because we have to track our water loss in the comptroller's office. And so, yes, we do for practice and just out here just especially in drought situations, we do have to monitor our water, yes.
You wouldn't consider that a cost of doing business as far as for training? In other words, we have a larger fire department. What would you charge us for training as far as our services?
Well, I think the charges are very minimal. I don't even know what they are. I don't remember what they are now, but I'll find out and let you know, because it's basically at cost, wholesale rate, because we want them to train and we want them to be ready and we want them to be prepared, but I don't want them to be just wasting water either.
American Water.
So we serve dozens and dozens of fire departments. Zero charge. It is a cost of doing business. It's the right thing to do. It's something that we've had to do to help our fire department. So there is no charge, and that would be extended to Signal Mountain's fire department as well. There would be zero charge for fire service on the public hydrants.
Hickson Utility, how large a service is theirs? Do you know roughly customers, as far as their customer base, as far as who they serve, as far other than you, as far as the Hickson utility?
I think they serve part of Red Bank, all of Hickson. I think it's around 27,000 customers.
Do you know if they charge for their
I do
water?
not.
Hey, to go back, my non-revenue water guy is going to give me a dirty look. We do ask that the fire departments do turn in that usage. So that's the one I ask, is we'll call the fire departments. We ask that they call us to report all the usage on those hydrants, because like Ron said, it is important to track. You have to balance that out and be able to kind of report on it. So very important that we get that information, and that's just part of the relationship with the fire departments.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to see how many questions we can work through from the audience. Anybody that wants to ask a question, if you'll come up and just kind of start lining up here, we're going to try to wrap up around 8:30. I'll start while you guys are doing that. First, let me mention what I didn't ask on the cards. If you'll state your name, address, and if you work for or with either of these entities, if you would let us know that, we would appreciate it. First, Walden's Ridge Utility District, you mentioned a backup source and supply if Hickson source was to fail. Who is the provider of the backup supply, and what is the capacity they can provide?
Tennessee American is our backup source. I think we mentioned that last meeting, and I think they have unlimited supplies.
Okay. I think it's important to note, though, we're not connected any longer to Walden's Ridge. When our contract ceased, our systems are not physically connected. There is no meter, there's no pipe. There would have to be several hundred feet of pipe installed. So we would definitely do mutual aid and help by all means, but there is no interconnect with us.
But you said you'd make it, though.
We'll run temporary line on top of the ground, but that takes time. We're talking about with Signal having a connection of pipe, connecting our systems, so it goes down tonight, we turn it on. It goes down in Hickson. There is no pipe from Tennessee American Water right now to supply Walden's Ridge water. We'll work together around the clock, whatever it takes to make that happen. You have that commitment from us, but we're not physically connected at this point.
Just to clarify, the interconnect that we've spoke about, it's a part of our capital plan. It's the interconnect from Signal Mountain to Walden's Ridge. So it's the connection point there.
Okay, let me get just one more. We have a two-part question for both utilities.
Excuse me, sir, if I could expand on that a little bit. When we bought the pumps from Tennessee American on Mountain Creek Road, they removed, I think, how many feet? 10 feet of pipe, disconnected. Yeah. Right. So is that the length of pipe we're talking about? 16 feet?
The way I understand it, there needs to be the way I understand, we are at each other. Where Tennessee American did pump water to us, there's a void in that pipe now where they disconnected to keep from a cross connection from Tennessee American and Hickson. There needs to be a meter vault installed and a meter at that point, and that will complete that connection, the way I understand that.
I agree. We'll put pipe in the ground. We'll put pipe on top of the ground. There's a major difference between an emergency connection and a true interconnect, and that's what I want to clarify. It goes down. There's a difference between hitting a button on a computer screen and you have water, and us dispatching a crew and them dispatching a crew at the middle of the night. People are not going to have water for hours. I don't know how many hours, but it is not a reliable connection. It's an emergency connection. Very different things. TDEC, Tennessee Department of Environment, recognizes them as very different things, and it's something that we definitely need to, if this is going to be something we're going to explore, it's not a conversation that Ron and I have had since I've been in Tennessee.
Okay. Let me get one more from the cards. I think this one will be fairly quick. For each of you, how much do you charge a customer for new service, whether it's a new house or a new customer getting service to an existing house?
If there's a new tap onto our main, it's $900, $50 activation. So if there's already a service there, it's $50 activation fee.
So if we have to add a new meter, it's $25. And then if a meter already exists or it's an existing service, it's $15 to have the water turned on. 25 or 15, depending if they have a meter or they don't have a meter.
Okay. What if they don't have a line?
It's $25.
And the second part of that is, how do you work with developers to promote new growth when bringing water service to a new neighborhood?
We can expand on that. So we have a developer process where we actually, folks come in and we estimate how much it's going to cost to get service. So they may be running about 200 or 300 feet of water main. And we actually have a refund process where as new customers come online, we refund money back to the developers. In a lot of ways, we have two different processes. One's a 45-foot rule and one is a 60-40 rule where they get back 60% of the revenue off the meters. But what we're ultimately trying to do is promote development. You know, a lot of times the developers will actually get a full refund for their for what they install. That's something we manage at the engineering department, and it's just a way that we sort of incentivize that.
The developers, and we're actually working on one out on the other end of the mountain currently, they put in the infrastructure at their cost 100%, so we don't put the burden on our customer base. So 100% of it's paid by the developer because they're the ones making the profit off of the infrastructure, off the lots. So we put the burden back on the developer, and then as they come in, we charge the $50 activation fee and move on. But as you see, we've had good growth on this mountain. It's slow, but with the rock and without sewer, it's going to be slow growth, and that's what we anticipate.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am.
Thank you. Eugenia Alderice, 84 Carriage Hill. I have...
Pull that mic down.
Oh, I thought I sounded pretty loud. I have a question for each side, but first, I'd like to ask of all the people that are here representing Tennessee American, would you raise your hand if you live within the limits of Signal Mountain? Okay. Tennessee American, I'm concerned about the TTHM chemicals in your water, and I understand you average 70 parts per billion. The standard is 80. If you average that, how often do you get close to that 80? And basically, I want to know, do you test daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, biannually? How often do you test? And how often has that gotten closer to that limit, which we know that TTHMs could be carcinogenic?
So TTHMs is a quarterly check. So if we're having a experience in a higher number, we'll go into advanced or accelerated monitoring. So last year, so the number that I think you're referring to was in our consumer confidence report. We started a process of additional monitoring in the plant as well as in the system. We checked neighboring neighborhoods to ensure we're well below. We actually implemented a chemical process change at the plant to lower those numbers to ensure that we didn't risk going over that. There's some modifications that you can make. Everything has a cost, so we try to balance that the cost for our customers so they're not unnecessarily paying for things that they don't need. So we've implemented process changes. One was a major chemical change that we did at the plant. We saw significant results from it to the point that we essentially were well below the limit in the fourth quarter.
How high have you gotten?
Our max number, I don't have it. It may be on the second page.
87 or 89? That's above the limit.
Well, it's not above the limit. The limit is a 4-quarter running annual average, not an acute number. So we talked about this a little bit in the last meeting. Understand TTHMs is not a one-time you drink it, you have a higher chance. It comes from prolonged exposure over 70 years, drinking 2 liters of water per day, to have a 1 in 10,000 greater risk.
But wouldn't it be great if we didn't have anything like that in our water?
Absolutely, and I think you would agree there's lots of ways to do that.
WRUD, last week we heard from a representative from Lone Oak why they severed their relationship with Tennessee American, but we never heard why you all severed your relationship. Could you explain?
Frank may disagree with me. I mean, I think it was essentially rate increases. I think we had a 3-year rate guarantee with the company, and when that ended, we got either year over year or year over 2-year rate increases. I want to say before we switched to Hickson, which I think aggregated like 40% or so, and as Ron said, I think earlier, our contract required them to discuss this with us, but in fairness to them, the way I understand their situation is they're under a different regulatory authority than we are, and it just doesn't work that way. We really had no input, we felt, into future rate increases, and we just extrapolated them out for like 10, 15 years and saw that we could amortize the cost of purchasing their pipes up the mountain and their pump station for our customers in a very short time with the money we would save from buying from Hickson. It was just simply a matter of economics.
Will there be a buyout clause for if we go with Tennessee American? Like, I guess they had a buyout clause. If we decide we want to get out of that agreement, will there be one?
We can't speak to that at this point.
Okay.
Good. Yes.
Boyd, I would like to add a little bit more color around TPUC and the process from just input from the community as well as from individuals that would like to intervene or be a part of any of our rate filings, any of our capital rider filings. Any customer that is within our customer service base are able to be a part of that process, be that a customer that is a bulk purchase customer, a residential customer, an industrial customer. And I would also say that every customer is represented through the Attorney General's office, the consumer advocacy group out of Nashville. They intervene and they work within every single one of our rate filings, and they are specifically there to speak on behalf of the customer. And then lastly, I would share that TPUC is going to thoroughly vet any of our capital spending, anything that we say is going to impact our customer, and they're going to ensure that it is a prudent spend relative to our customers. And I'd also like to add also relative to water quality. We have been in Chattanooga, surrounding areas for 130 years. We have never had a water quality violation. We have received numerous national and state awards relative to our water quality. And again, we have local individuals that work within our lab that value our treatment process. They value what we do on a day-to-day basis and to ensure that our customers are provided with high quality water. We never ever take that for granted. And at the end of the day, our goal is to make sure that our customers are safe.
Kerry Lansfor, 815 Cherokee Lane, and I appreciate this opportunity to speak before you today. I especially appreciate that you're allowing for public input because water quality affects every single one of us every day. When your grandkid turns the faucet on to brush his teeth, when you turn the faucet on to get a nice big, some iced tea, you want to know that you're drinking clean water. So I just want to start by asking a really simple question, because there's a whole lot here about numbers and money, but not details about the quality of water. Why wouldn't you choose spring water from an aquifer over water filtered from a dirty river? What am I missing here? Because it seems like a no-brainer to me. Now, I did some research. I came upon a tap water database, EWG.org, EWG.org. That database told me that there were 6 pollutants in Tennessee Americans' water, every one of them carcinogenic. Not great news for a cancer survivor. And there were contaminants on top of that. So, you know, and this is after it's been filtered. So when Tennessee American throws a bunch of numbers at you, find out what's in the water. That knowledge is so important. And I don't really much care that Tennessee American has been around for 93 years or 193 years, and I'll cut you guys some slack and say that when I have a problem and I make a phone call and I get somebody in Missouri, I don't care. What I do care about is the quality of my drinking water, and I want you guys to want that for us, clean water. And so let me just, you know, Tennessee American has yet to stand up here and tell us what's in their water. And so let me just finish up here by saying that I voted for you guys because I figured you'd be looking out for us, you'd protect us, you'd ensure a good quality of life here on the mountain. Take care of us. Be heroes. Do the right thing. And get us some spring water up here so I don't have to go to Hickson or Walden to get a clean glass of water. Thanks.
Boyd, I'd like to chime in on that. Thank you for your comments. I definitely appreciate that. First of all, I would like for anybody that works within our water quality department that is here tonight, if you would please stand up. Kitty, Kim, those of you that work within Matt, our water quality department, everybody please take a look at these individuals because they come in every day and they work really hard, days and nights, to ensure that we provide quality water. They will be here after the meeting tonight. I would encourage you to pull either one of them to the side and speak with them about their experience relative to water quality, what they bring to the table relative to water quality. And I will tell you, it keeps us up at night to ensure that our customers are taken care of. It keeps me up at night to ensure that my employees are working very safely to make sure that they take care of our customers. And we don't take for granted the fact that when you turn your water faucet on, that water is safe. Thank you all for that. Thank you for your service and your time with Tennessee American Water. And I'm not going to ask anybody if you live within or outside of Signal Mountain, but what I would ask you to ask yourselves is, as long as you've been a resident of Signal Mountain, have you had a problem with the quality of your water? Have you turned on your faucet and have you had to question any day if there is a problem with your water? Be it yourself, your children, your spouses, your family, the businesses that we ensure have quality water up here today, I would ask you to ask yourselves, have you ever had to question that? Kevin can speak very clearly, and I'm going to pass the mic to him to talk about different sources of water. We are a diverse country, and I pride myself on working for a diverse company as well as a diverse country. And that means that we have access to diverse resources. And those diverse resources come in the way of water sources. We are very proud of our water source. And I do get quite offended when the precious water that flows through Tennessee on our Tennessee River is described as dirty. You think about all of the events, everything that we do in downtown Chattanooga that benefits us from a community standpoint, and how much it means to all of the individuals that come here And water is a great part of that. So I'm going to hand it over to Kevin. Kevin has a few comments to make, but I will say there's, outside of safety, nothing more important to me than water quality for our customers.
I think there's a couple of things I want to expand on. The local impact, and Val brought that up. The other thing is some of the question about open records. Everything that we do with water quality is turned over to Tennessee Department of Environment. It falls under open records. Anything and everything that you want to know about our water quality is visible to the public. You can come by the plant, we'll give you a tour. There's no secrets, there's no hidden anything. The plant's available for tours. We would love to show it off because it's something we're very, very proud of. But the question around the secrecy of what's in our water, it's very visible. It's very transparent. It couldn't be any more transparent. It's a question. You ask it to Tennessee Department of Environment, they will show you every report we've turned in. It's just a question.
Claire Greisinger, 40 Carriage Hill. Would you please break down Tennessee American? You say that you will be paying $1 million approximately in taxes over the next 10 years to the town of Signal Mountain. And Signal, of course, already gets taxes from the sale of our water. So would you break down where that $100,000 a year, which that breaks out to be, will come from?
I don't have the exact breakdown tonight. We can have it at the next meeting, or we can provide, if you want to give us an email or something, we'd be happy to provide it to the council as well as you. But I don't have that data in front of me right now.
Do you generally know, I mean, $100,000 a year in taxes is pretty substantial. Do you generally know where that will come from?
I'm not following the question. So I thought your question was what percentage is property tax to the county, to Signal Mountain, to any other entity, plus sales tax. That's the breakdown I do not have, of property tax. If you're asking a different question.
Well, I think, and if I have this correct, that Tennessee American said that they will be providing up to $1 million in taxes the first 10 years. And so that's where what I'm asking, where is that coming from? It averages out to $100,000 a year. I know it won't be the same.
Well, I'll take a stab at it. I don't know if I'm going to actually answer your question, but our taxes are based on property that we own, assets that we have. So what we've looked at is kind of the book value of the assets that we would acquire from Signal Mountain, and that in turn gives us a dollar amount of how much we would estimate that we're going to pay in taxes. We have actually, as a part of the RFP, turned in letters from Mayor Coppinger as well as Mayor Burke relative to the taxes that we paid in Hamilton County, as well as for the city of Chattanooga. And again, we'd be glad to provide any additional information for you relative to that. But the basis of the dollar amount comes from the amount of capital assets that we would have within the town system.
So if you ended up with our town system, the assets that we have here now is what you're basing that on?
The value of those assets, yes, that is correct.
Okay. Because I know the property that the tanks and stuff sit on bring in around $1,900 a year. Those properties do in property tax. And I have one more question. I had emailed this twice to y'all, but I was told to ask it at the meeting instead of getting that on an email. You've said Tennessee American will form a Signal Mountain Water Advisory Board, and the committee members in Tennessee American will meet quarterly. And I asked what other cities or towns in your service area currently have active water advisory boards, and also what are some of the areas that citizens have input in when they meet with those boards. So can you give me the other areas that have those boards that are active?
I can. First of all, I'll say that the customer advisory boards that we have are just a portion of our outlet to the cities that we serve. So we would have a advisory board, but before I talk about that, I'll talk about the fact that we stay connected with all of our local elected officials, individuals, and neighborhood associations. We have a distribution list where relative to anything that's occurring within our system, if there's an emergency within a certain district of a particular area of town, we ensure that the residents are up to speed on that through points of contact. So there's year-round communication. We have a major accounts program where we stay connected to our major industry within the area to ensure that they have someone that they can call upon if there is a concern or issue. We want to make sure that that's taken care of. The advisory council currently that we have is, it's within the city of Chattanooga, individuals that serve within that. And of course, being that we would bring Signal Mountain on board, town that we've provided water to for the last 93 years, we would want to be able to have an extension of that as well. So I don't want to be very prescriptive in regards to how that advisory council would be set up, because I would love for that to be defined through conversation with the town council and what the needs are here in the town of Signal Mountain. So our goal would be to sit down and let's talk about it. I would say a key part of it is infrastructure needs, customer needs within the community. How can we partner within the community? Where are some of the areas that we need to be more involved in that's going to make us a great partner? So, and then we'll just kind of go from there relative to the needs.
So only Chattanooga has this water advisory board. It's not in the other towns or cities you have.
No, it's not. But again, I'll speak to the fact that we have David McBay, who is point of contact for Suck Creek, and any customer in Suck Creek has David McBay's contact information. Michael Griffith and our employees in Whitwell, they are all within the community of Whitwell, and they stay connected to the mayor there, the city manager. And again, we go over and spend time within the communities as well. So there is a direct line of contact with those communities so that it allows for us to be able to hear from them. Chattanooga is a much bigger span, of course. We have over 80,000 customer connections, so you're looking around 300,000 customers. So there we have to be a lot more strategic in regards to ensuring that we're hearing from all aspects of the community. So it's a little bit more defined there. As I spoke to the town of Signal Mountain, being that you all would be new to us in regards to working with us, we feel that the advisory council would be an asset for us to stay connected.
So that would maybe kind
Claire,
of...
if we could, we get
sorry.
somebody else. Thank you.
I'm Richard Urban. I live on 707 Windy Way here in Signal Mountain. I have a couple of a comment or two and then a question for both Tennessee American and Walden. First of all, if you go to the website for Hickson Utilities, you'll see that the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation has a program called Source Water Assessment. And it has 3 levels of susceptibility to pollution for groundwater sources. Those are reasonably susceptible, which is termed high, moderately susceptible, which is called moderate, and slightly susceptible, and it's called low. Hickson Utilities is identified as high. In other words, it has a high potential for sources of pollution. Some of that is the fact that one of the main sources of recharge for the Cave Spring water source is North Chickamauga Creek. And for anyone who is familiar with North Chickamauga Creek, before it really gets into the town limits of Saudi Daisy, it starts to disappear. And under low flow conditions, it disappears totally. And that is mainly recharge for the Hickson Utilities major water supply source of Cave Spring. And that does have a stress associated with it when we have long periods of drought, such as we had in 1986, 87, and partially into 88. Now, the question I have for both Tennessee American and Walden is, what experience do each of you have in converting from a long-term surface water source to a groundwater source of water for a large distribution system? Signal Mountain has been on a surface water source now for a great number of years. And so the chemical and biological coatings that are in the distribution system have been accommodated by and developed there with surface water. So for Walden, what experience have you had in the conversion from a surface water to a groundwater source, and what kind of water quality problems have resulted as that, and what kind of issues have you had related to the piping structure and its deterioration? And the same question would go to Tennessee American.
Mr. Urban, as you know, I come from Savannah Valley Utility, and we purchased water from Eastside Utility, which had been on a groundwater source since '51, I believe. We had, early '90s, we had started an optimal corrosion control program using zinc orthophosphate. When Eastside went from surface water to, well, from the groundwater to surface water, they had water quality issues, red water. It looked like tea coming out basically for about 6 weeks, and basically all you can do is flush. I think as far as Hickson's concerned, they're feeding zinc orthophosphate, and I don't want to speak for Tennessee American, but as a corrosion inhibitor, I think they also use zinc orthophosphate. So as far as concerns, yes, I do have concerns. I don't think there'll be an issue. I can't 100% guarantee there won't be an issue, but I don't think there'll be an issue, because with the zinc orthophosphate, I don't believe there'll be an issue with the corrosion inhibitors, that we currently both use the same one.
Of course, we converted from Tennessee American to Hickson, and I don't recall any customer complaints on turbidity or discolored water at that time. Correct me if
we did have one lady, we changed over, we actually mixed the water for several days. We had one lady, Miss Elizabeth, which was the mayor of Walden that time, did notice that her water was a little cooler, but besides that, we didn't have anybody that actually knew the difference until they kept saying, they like the taste better. So, but I don't think that you'll see a difference in water, except it'll have a better taste. It's a cooler water. Surface water is a little warmer, but coming out of the hydrant, I don't think you'll notice a difference.
So I'm a little concerned right now, because changing water sources is risky, and it may work out just fine, and I've done it on both sides, just like Ron talks about, but Tennessee American doesn't do things on we think it's going to work. You've got to do studies on that kind of stuff. And I want to talk about something that happened in Michigan. Some of y'all heard about Flint, Michigan, and the problems they had up there. And it was changing source and not doing your due diligence. It worries me to death that we would take a knee-jerk reaction without checking all the boxes. And I really think Ron would do additional stuff beyond just think it would work, because corrosion inhibitors don't go together well. This is a chemistry problem that really takes a study. You look at this stuff, you look at your sources, and like Rich said, the chemistry in that water pipe has to be right. And generally it can work, but I want to make sure that before we do it, you do samples. Because once it starts, once you get the red water, it's there for days. And we've seen systems across America. Flint, Michigan, the most recent one that made the news, from a change in water source from a river to a different river, and the right precautions weren't taken. That kind of stuff we take very serious. Val talked about water quality and the 130 years without a violation. It's because we think about it. We do the studies, we do the due diligence, and we pilot and we test, and then we go back and we look at it again and see what we can learn. The other thing that came up is change of direction. When you change sources, you make water go opposite direction in the pipe. Something that hasn't been talked about, when you change the direction of water, so right now it comes up this side of the mountain, in the future it would come up from Walden's side of the mountain, discolored water almost guaranteed. It may be short-term in nature, but it's a plan that's required because you're going to discolor every bit of water when you change that flow. We've seen it happen. When you have loops, it doesn't do that. When you have a linear flow going from one direction to another for 93 years and you reverse that, you are going to see problems. It's something that has to be talked about, discussed, and it's not a knee-jerk or a quick reaction. So I think we would look at things very differently with changing source. And again, I want Signal to make the best decision for Signal, and I believe we can help you all do that. So again, changing source, I think Rich can speak a lot to the chemistry of that. He knows clearly more than most of us about that, but in my experience in changing sources, it's a long process that takes time.
David Evans, 619 Carolina Avenue. I have no connection with.
Can you pull the microphone?
David Evans, 619 Carolina Avenue. I have no connection with either RUD or with Tennessee American. I have three quick questions. One regarding this change in systems. As I understand it, I'll pose all three questions and you can answer them as you deem appropriate. One is, I understand there was no water discoloration or problems when Walden, the town of Walden, changed its water system from long-standing use of Tennessee American water, or Lone Oak had no problems when it changed. I had a question in terms of the connection issue in the event that the earth were to open up and swallow up Hickson Utilities water. In terms of a backup system, wouldn't the existing system still be in place so that you could supply water to the town of Signal Mountain, or would it be Tennessee American's idea to rip that off the side of the mountain? And my third question concerns your 71-cent a month capital charge. So I do the math, 12 times 71 comes out to $8.72. I think that you told the group here tonight that you have 390,000 users of your water. I'm assuming that if we count each, whether it's a baby, a child, a man, or adult, the residents that you serve, if we treat each baby, child, mom, and dad, instead of living in a family as a separate account, I only come up with $3.32 million in capital expenditures a year off that. And I am kind of wooden-headed, so maybe you can help me with the numbers on that so I don't stay up awake all night wondering where the capital is coming. And related to that is, my understanding is Walden Ridge is making a much higher capital expenditure commitment to the town of Signal Mountain than Tennessee American. Those are my questions.
Yeah, so I'll talk about the capital riders. You asked the question about the 71 cents. So we have 390,000 residents we serve. That equates to about 80,000 connections. So there's different tariff groups for different, like we talked about before, we have a Lookout tariff, we have a Chattanooga tariff. That 71 cents is what we equated for Signal Mountain. Some of it changes depending on the different tariff, but it's spread across the customers based off their current rate. So that equals up to, we talked about the $20 million. That's where we get the $20 million, is looking at that capital rider investment over a 1 year period over all of our customers. And the benefit of that is that it's spread across all the customers. It's not just, the brunt of it's not just borne by the Signal Mountain residents.
And I'll add just a snippet relative to being a partner and being a resource. So, Dave, I think you made a comment about us ripping out assets at the bottom of the mountain. At the end of the day, and I just want to be very clear about it, all of this is about the customer. You take Walden's Ridge Utility District off the table, you take Tennessee American Water off the table. I am a customer of a utility district. We all are. We're all customers from a water perspective. And so we're all going to do what's right for our customers. And so the goal would never be to just say that we're going to come in and we're going to rip assets out of the ground. That's not what we're going to do. We care about Signal Mountain. We care about the customers of Walden's Ridge. I can't stress it anymore. And how important it is, the asset that we and the resource that we provide, water, it sustains life. It sustains life. We take this personal. We go to sleep at night thinking about it. Sometimes we don't even go to sleep. Our employees are up all night working on water main breaks, taking care of our customers. So I just want to make sure that that point doesn't get lost in all of this. It is about our customers.
Sir.
Don Strickland, 1058 Whippoorwill Drive. I've never represented either of these entities. Before I ask my question, if I may follow up a prior question about the $1 million over 10 years, since it was your presentation, Mr. Stafford, would you make a written submission to Mr. Veal substantiating your position that Tennessee American would pay $1 million in taxes over a 10-year period?
Yes, I did. We included that in our RFP, so we've already made a written statement about that.
A written submission substantiating it, breaking it down as to how you say Tennessee American would pay on what Ms. Armstrong said were capital assets, $1 million. Can you substantiate that? That's the question.
Yes, definitely. We can, we talked a little bit before about that. We can bring that we can get your email address and send that to you and the council, or we can bring it to the next meeting.
If you just send it to Mr. Veal, I'm sure he'll get it to council.
Yes,
if
sir.
you would do that. Thank you. My questions relate to the 71 cents per month for capital riders and the idea of rate increases. Let me ask the 71 cents question first. Your offer says that the amount paid by Tennessee or Town of Signal Mountain residents would be capital riders, which would amount to approximately 71 cents per month for the average residential customer. Now, is that a fixed amount or is it subject to change?
So that's based off a 3.5% increase. So that's generally what we have been doing, what we've seen over the past couple of years. So that's an estimate based off that 3.5%.
You lost me. What do you mean by a 3.5% increase?
Well, so the capital rider is equated based off a fixed increase. So that 71% comes from the calculation for the 3.5% increase.
Increase of what?
Well, it's basically our capital spend that we estimate that we're going to spend within a year. So this year we're spending approximately $20 million from a capital standpoint. So we estimate how much is that going to equate for our customers. If our customers have to pay for this, that equates to about a 3.5% increase on rates for our customers. So that 3.5% increase on rates to customers equals to dollar amount of 71 cents per customer on an average per month. Okay. So that's how we equate it out.
So the first year, the estimate is 71 cents per month per customer.
Correct. So if you think
it's not guaranteed, it's an estimate. It's subject to change. So the next year it could be more. The next year it could be more. Is that right?
So I'll let Kevin speak. Let me kind of clarify this. Okay. We control what our capital spend is. We determine what our budget is going to be from a capital spend standpoint based on the needs within our system. And we don't do it on a year-by-year basis. We plan out 10 years relative to capital planning. And so we know approximately on a year-to-year basis, we're looking around $20 million per year. So that is an estimate based on that spend. Now, we may go in next year and we may say that it's going to be $16 million. So if it's $16 million, then it will be less. My goal and the expectation is that we're going to be around about $20 million per year. We're not going to come in with a $30 million capital plan that is not, first of all, scrutinized by TPUC and the CAD, because we have to account for all of our capital spending. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to bring that in if it's going to be a huge rate shock to my customers.
Did you want to follow up?
I just want to make sure everybody's clear. The average bill on Signal Mountain would be around $20.40. If we spent $20 million, we would ask for a 3.5% rider increase the following year. Your new bill would be $21.01, $21.11 would be your average bill the following year.
Yeah, but again, I just want to make sure it's adjustable. This is not a fixed rate, right? We've established that, right?
We control our rider spend, our capital spend. We average $20 million. So that number it may be a shade less, it may be a shade more if we had a big main break that we had to take care of.
Yeah, and I'm reading, let me be clear, I'm reading from what the committee did, their report. I'm not reading from what you actually submitted. So it could be their language. Next question relates to the provision that the existing rates will be, it doesn't use the word frozen, but I guess that's the meaning of it, for 5 years, subject to TPUC approval. Now, I've got two concerns about that. First of all, the offer itself is, quote, subject to the approval by TPUC of the terms. So if this agreement is approved, then obviously TPUC has agreed to the terms. And if Tennessee American guarantees that it won't raise the rates for 5 years, why would it be subject to potential increase by TPUC when it's already agreed not to raise it for 5 years? How does that happen?
Well, I'll clarify first of all, TPCU is the Tennessee Public Utilities Commission. We are a regulated entity, so meaning that we cannot arbitrarily say that we're going to raise customer rates by 5%. I want to explain so I can answer your question here. And so what we end up doing is we have to take anything that's going to impact our customers. And I think everybody in this room should appreciate that, because that means that there's checks and balances in this process. So any impact that is going to potentially impact our customer's bill, TPUC has to approve it. And I appreciate that, because that means that I can't sit at the table and write on a piece of paper how much I want my customer rates to be tomorrow. So when I submit that, and when we submit that to TPUC, they are going to evaluate every single item that is within our capital plan for that year that we're asking for the increase. And they're going to make the decision whether or not it is prudent for our customers or if it's excessive. And at that point, they will approve it. TPUC, for the last 5 years, 6 years that we've had our capital riders, they have approved all of our filings. We purchased the city of Whitwell's water system back in 2013. That was approved by TPUC. We have a great relationship relative to TPUC because we're very open and we're very transparent with them. And so we have to say that because we are a regulated entity.
I appreciate your answer, Ms. Armstrong, but that's not my question. My question is, you're talking about increases, right? You're talking about when you ask for an increase. You're not going to ask for an increase if you've got a guarantee to a customer you're not going to raise their rates for 5 years, right? You're not going to go in and ask for an increase, are you?
We're not going to go in for a general rate filing. All of our capital riders have to go before TPUC.
I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the rate increases, the per gallon or per 1,000 gallon rates, which you've guaranteed are not going to be raised for 5 years. You say that's subject to TPUC approval. Why would TPUC have to approve you not raising our rates?
Again, it's simple, because they have to approve everything that we do. So if we're saying that we're not going to raise your rates, TPUC has to approve that. We cannot make a decision arbitrarily without TPUC's approval.
Are you saying that there's a possibility that TPUC might require you to raise our rates?
I spoke with Dan earlier. I think the question came up relative to, is there any unforeseen circumstances that could come up within the next 5 years that could cause a rate increase to our customers? And what I shared with Dan in my response is, and I'm just thinking out of the blue, maybe TPUC could say, come in for a rate case. Have they ever done that in our history? No, they have not. They have not. They've never asked us to come in for a rate case. But is that possible? Maybe they could. Do I anticipate that? No, I don't anticipate that. But we're going to be very realistic and transparent, so I don't want to share something with you that I can't speak for relative to TPUC. Do I anticipate that that's going to happen? No.
Sir.
Good evening. I'm Clinton Sanko. I live at 3101 Beech Tree Lane. I do work at Baker Donaldson, which actually represents Tennessee American, but I'm a satisfied customer of you guys right now because I'm in Fox Run, and I think you guys do a good job. My overall question really has to do with the commissioner structure, so for you two gentlemen. My understanding is that your terms are 4 years as commissioners. And so as a predicate matter, can you bind subsequent commissioners outside of your term to the kind of the capital commitments or the rate freeze that you've committed to in this proposal. Is that something that you can actually legally bind those future commissioners such that we're sure that that's going to happen? And then the second question is, you've committed to adding a new board member for both, I guess, Lone Oak and then one for Signal Mountain. Those are appointed by somebody else. And my question is why wouldn't you actually add more so that they're being proportionally about the same for Signal Mountain, because it's roughly doubling the size? So why wouldn't you say go to 7 and give 3 to Signal Mountain such that they would have more of a voice in the commissioner proceedings?
Part of that question came up at the first meeting.
And I was here.
I'll ask your last one first. There was a district here that I think had 9 commissioners on it for a while, and the meetings were really unwieldy, so we were advised second-handedly. Every issue kind of became a debate that really probably extended more than the importance of the particular issue justified, so it just becomes a little unwieldy. Aside from that, I mean, I don't see a problem with it. One person last time said, you know, so why is Signal just getting 1 member? And it's roughly the size of the present utility district. So it's a good question. So we're not saying that. We're saying we're going to expand the board to 5 members. And when Frank or I or whoever rolls off the board, then all of the customers, I mean, it'd be 1 utility district at that point in time, no matter where you live. But if you happen to live in Signal and you wanted somebody from Signal to be on the board, then you have the right to submit that name to the county mayor, who I believe would, you know, you'd be part of the district, the town would be part of the district, so he would be appointing all of the members. So you could have 5 members from the town, in theory. You know, we don't really see it as the town versus the non-town. So I'll answer that part of your question.
You want me to answer the other one? The proposal asks for a contract. We would contractually agree to that, which whatever board came on board would be subject to following what we had contracted and agreed to.
Can I ask a follow-up for your question? I wanted to ask this and forgot this earlier. It seems that there's a legislative solution to this, that based on the number of people in the district, could be changed by the county, changing the way members are assigned. Would you be willing to seek that legislative?
I'm not sure I understand.
Well, so the legislative body that determines who's on the board is the county commission, correct?
No.
It's not? The county mayor decides?
County mayor.
Just the one person?
Right.
Just him.
And I believe if you go to a multi-county utility, then the mayor or executive of the other county could have some say in those appointments as well.
I think that's correct. I think the Sequatchie County mayor would appoint that particular commissioner, but I believe the county mayor would appoint, you know, the additional commissioner from Hamilton County.
Is that a county charter thing, or is that a TPUC thing? Is that a state reg?
That's outlined in state law.
That's outlined in state law. That's correct.
So, I mean, that's something that could also be addressed by our legislators if we needed it to be, if there was concern.
One of the things, Dan, too, that we have to advertise before a commissioner is appointed. And then the board sends a letter of 3 names. If the county mayor doesn't like the 3 names, he kicks it off. We have to send him another 3 names. So once it's advertised, then 3 names, anybody that lives in the town or in Hamilton County in the district, the water customers and qualify can submit their names, and then they have to take the training. So there's more to being a water commissioner than just volunteering. So it's a big job, and they do have to take continuing education now, and so it's a time-consuming, but it is well worth it, you know. So these guys have been phenomenal for us.
Missy, before you start, we are getting about 20 till 9, so we've got a couple folks here. If we can finish up with them, and then we'll wrap up till the next meeting.
Yeah, I want out of here too. Okay, Melissa Cantrell, 105 South Drive. I know it seems like we're picking on you guys. Part of that is because we can go talk to these people. The question I have is going to be yes or no. We're paying you monthly riders out of our water fund. Some of that goes for improvements to Camp Jordan and South Red Bank. What I want to know is, have you done anything within the town of Signal Mountain as far as maintenance or improvements?
So I would say we have a great relationship with the employees of the water department here. We have done leak detection with the folks up here. So leak detection is when they have a water leak they can't find or they're looking for assistance.
Right.
So we'll send a crew up to help those folks find the leak. We don't actually do the work. It's as far as the repair, because that's the employees of Signal Mountain's responsibility. But we're a phone call away, and I think on any given time we've been asked. We've had crews up here same day. So from that standpoint, that wouldn't change.
Okay, and I also want to say that I am sensitive to you're protective of your employees. My husband works for a little outfit in Atlanta. We get a lot of complaints, people just saying, hey, what happened here? And, you know, so this is nothing personal. For us, we're consumers, it's business. It's quality, it's price, it's ease of communication. And those are the things really that I'm concerned about. So thank you for coming.
All right, thank you. And I would say it's business for us, but the personal aspect means that we take really great pride in what we do. We take pride in ensuring that we take care of our customers. So that's why it's so personal to me. That's why it's so personal to all of our employees. I do want to speak a little bit about partnering with other communities that we don't service. Kevin spoke back a little bit ago about 2016 when we were going through a severe drought in this area. Over off of Luminary Mountain, we received a call because their water source was pretty much dried up, and they needed some help relative to water. So we were able to partner with them through our Whitwell location as well as employees to be able to provide them with a water resource. So we provided some water buffalo to them for a few weeks in order for their customers to be able to come and have access to water. So it's personal. It's personal because of the fact that we want to make sure that all customers are taken care of, not just Tennessee American Water customers, but all water customers. This is so valuable relative to it could, if it's contaminated, it could cause death. And so that's why it's so personal to me. That's why it's so personal to each and every one of my employees.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Doug Monroe, 907 Cherokee Lane. I heard last time, so I thought, that coming out of the tap, Tennessee American had 8 parts, well, I don't know, it's carcinogens or something, compared to same volume that Walden's had 1.3, 1.5. So my question is blunt. Which is the purer water coming out of the tap?
Both water sources are in full compliance with every regulation. It's not a more or less. I can look at turbidity coming out of Hickson and say, well, Tennessee American's better. I can look at THM and say it's lower. We have 2 different sources of water with 2 different sets of characteristics. Both of them meet every regulation. You can look at the consumer comps report. So it's not a better or worse. I think you can look at the reports and you will see neither system had a violation. I can say Tennessee American has received the Director's Award from the EPA for the last 18 years. Hickson has not. So if you want to talk about EPA being the judge, I might lean towards Tennessee American Water based on 18 years of receiving an EPA Partnership Award for going above and beyond every water regulation there.
And I would offer that we all will be here after the meeting tonight. So if anyone has had any issues with water quality, if you're a customer of Signal Mountain, I would ask that you come talk with us about that. Okay. But I'm going to venture to say that we've not had any water quality issues up here because we've not received any issues that have been reported to us from the town, from any of the customers up here. So again, for 93 years, we've been the water provider, and we've taken great pride in that, and we want to continue that partnership.
Okay, yes, you have met the standard and below it, but you didn't address how much below the standard, better than standard, your water is compared to Walden's. And you said it depends on who's looking at it. I don't know where that report came from, the 8 particles to 1.5 particles. I'm not sure, you know, what study that came from. But it seems to be that there's a difference in quality. And you say there's not?
I used an analogy at the last meeting. I'm not sure if you caught the last meeting, but it comes down to driving the speed limit. And if the speed limit is 25 miles an hour out here, and you're doing 20 miles an hour, or you're doing 18 miles per hour, is the guy doing 18 any safer than the driver running 20?
That's still, you're talking about compared to a max. A guy driving over 55 is going to get a ticket. The one driving 30 is not. So you understand what I'm asking you? How much better is your quality than Walden Ridge quality? And particles that I heard of per volume.
I'm 100% positive I can't give you a numerical answer that you were looking for.
Okay.
There is not a 1 times better, 2 times better. Both water sources are great sources. I can speak highly of mine. I can't speak of Hickson's because I don't have the details on Hickson's water.
Well, you know, I've drank Tennessee water for years, and look what it's done for me. So it's not, it's not going to be harmful. That's not my point. I was just trying to find it if there's a possibility of weighing the difference.
Yeah.
Better, good, or better.
And water is very personal to everyone, as it should be. It is very personal because it's a resource that we ingest every day. And just as I know we care about the quality of our water, I know Hickson Utilities cares, I know that Walden's Ridge care. We're all here to make sure that our customers are taken care of and that you're drinking quality water. And you know, again, at the end of the day, when we talk about the RFP never asked and it never required that there was an issue with the source of the water up here whenever the RFP came out. So I understand the concerns that are raised relative to water quality because it's so personal to us. But I also want to say that there's never been a question for the town council that I am aware of that there's been a concern about the source of water. So I know we've spent a lot of time this evening talking about source water. We've talked about things that are very personal to you, but I would ask that you all think about the other values that we bring to the table and how important that is going to be for the town of Signal Mountain. The source of the water, the quality of the water, you're going to get good quality water. Just know that that's going to happen. But on top of that, what are the other things that are going to be important to you? And I think that's what we have to think about, and that's the tough decision that has to be made. And we do feel that we've been a partner for 93 years, and I would love to continue to be a partner here and work with the city and to be able to bring the same quality of water that we've brought for the last 93 years.
I recognize that your water is good, but my question was, is there a difference? And I'd like to know what the difference is, if there is one. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to get, since we blew past the 8:30 hour, I'm gonna go ahead and throw these in the mix too, to at least get them on the record. If it's something you can address quickly, feel free to do so. Otherwise, if you'll make sure we're ready to address them at the next meeting, we would appreciate that because we kind of have one for each. At the last meeting, we heard WRUD talk about how they back up their servers and require passwords on their servers. Tennessee American talk about how you keep customer information secure and private, how you protect physical and digital data for your water system.
Interesting question. I got several texts and emails while we've been having this meeting about a cybersecurity incident at Boeing this afternoon, and it comes, we're part of a bigger team. So you have the employees of Tennessee American, but we also have a technology and innovation team that are constantly monitoring cybersecurity. So when stuff's going down in South Carolina right now, I get news to start watching for things. Does anything look suspicious on our systems? So beyond the firewalls, the encryptions, the passwords, the user IDs, and all the stuff that you see with a lot of systems, we have an entire team of folks that are dedicated to ensuring our systems are safe and secure. There are backup redundant sources, so if one system were to go down or were to be hacked, there's redundant sources to provide adequate service. I think there was an article in Nuga.com not too long ago. I was quoted on there talking about the importance of it, and TVA gets it, we get it, the gas utilities get it. It's something, it's a real problem. Folks are trying to get into our resources. I feel very confident in our supervisory control systems that control our pumps, motors, that we have multiple layers of protection there. And then when you look at the customer service side of things, customer records, complete separate systems with a great team working on it.
Okay, thank you. And for WRUD, at the last meeting, it sounded like making a connection to Signal Mountain was fairly easy. Could you tell us more about the actual cost and how that cost will be passed on to customers? And the second part of that is how much time and what regulatory issues must be overcome to make that connection?
Well, you know, we've been working on, and I think the guy from Baker Donaldson picked up a study. I think one of the issues of the interconnection with the TDEC has been asked us to do for years with you guys, sort of stalled when you wanted to make an interconnection on a 6-inch line. And we didn't feel like that was a big enough connection. And that's one of the reasons we want to take the water all the way to James and tie in. It's a couple thousand feet, 2 or 3 months. I think if we get the go-ahead or we get the vote, then we'll have engineers up here the next day working on that interconnection. And we have a 12-inch main at Taft Highway, at Miles Road currently today. So we're ready for an interconnection. There's a 10-inch main under the road, but the 6-inch that y'all have on the left-hand side of the highway is not adequate to feed the town in any shape, form, or fashion.
How long is it going to take to make that connection?
Well, it depends on how long it takes us to run the water line down Miles Road and tie in at James. So a couple of months at the max. You know, there is a engineering process. There is a TDEC approval, which is, I've seen them turn around as quick plans as easy as 7 days. So, you know, the earlier we get it, the faster we can do it. And there's other spots to make those interconnections. And I would like to loop the town. There's areas on East Brow, I think y'all call it Palisades Drive as you come through. There's other areas that's close, Timberlinks. The more connections we make, the better. And as we loop the water, it will make the town flow better. So there is opportunities that we'll do in the future, but as making the first interconnection, it will be there at Miles Road.
Have you done a cost estimate on that project yet?
I have not, because I don't think it's that great a cost. I have not looked down Miles to see if there's sewer or gas or what objects are in the road or how much area there is down through there. But I'll start looking at it if you want me to.
If you could take a look at that and
because we need to do that regardless of who gets the nod.
Right. Assuming that's part of your capital investment on the front end of any agreement that you have.
Okay.
And is this the old Arcata study that was done a few years ago?
Yes.
Okay.
They had CTI working on a study for them looking at interconnections and different things. So, and we had met with their engineer, but we hadn't heard anything else.
Yeah,
so
we looked at the interconnect study as part of our due diligence because we know that we want to make an interconnect, and the estimates that were in there were showing anywhere between $300,000 and $600,000 investment to make that connection point. And then when we started looking at the hydraulics, I think you talked about during the due diligence the difference in Walden system being significantly higher than Signal, and the need for automated valves and some altitude valves at the tanks to really make it work. So it's a concern for us as our capital plan as part of how we would do it. When I started looking at $600,000 for one connection, and I usually like to have two as a redundant source, I was getting concerned that it would be $1 million project, and maybe you have new information since the Arcata study, but that was all we had to go on for our due diligence.
We can revisit that at the next meeting. All right. Folks, again, thank you for your time. The next meeting is on April the 10th, 6:30. And we're going to discuss with council and the companies kind of a hybrid scenario, perhaps, where we're really getting a lot of the same questions. We are recording these meetings, and those are available to view. So hopefully at the next meeting, we may get into more citizen input time as opposed to simple question and answer. But that's something we'll discuss at least. So I hope you can join us on April 10th. And in the meantime, we'll try to get out any additional information in terms of format and all to you as quickly as we can. Thank you again for your time.